Hello, it's Dave here. You're listening to The Cinemile. I'm not with my wife, Kathy, today. I'm with my co-host on the Wire Stripped podcast, Kobi.
Hi guys, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm very good. Just come back from Hawaii. I'm jet lagged. I went to bed last night at 9 a.m, had 3 hours sleep, and I've not slept since. So I could fall asleep during Black Panther.
I mean, and I have a 5-month-old baby,
yeah, so it could be
the two of us
together.
could be asleep. This could be quite an interesting review on the other side. We'll have to just get someone who is sitting next to us to come on the podcast
to
with
join us.
Yeah. So do you mind just telling us what you thought of the movie? Kathy really wanted to be here, despite the fact that every time she sees a Marvel movie, she says that she hates Marvel movies. But she does want to see this movie. And she is going to go see this movie. We just couldn't line up our schedules. So by the time you're listening to this, Kathy will also have seen it. So you can tweet her for her opinion, if you like, at The Cinemile or at Kathy Cullen. So Kobi, I mean, you're a black man.
Yep. You noticed?
I did. I couldn't help but notice. How do you feel about the cultural significance of this?
So I was also born in Nigeria. I came to England, I think I was about 2 years old. So I do have more than a small affinity to my African heritage of being born there. So it's really interesting how Black Panther's been portrayed. With every new superhero movie, you're kind of scared as to the new people that are going to come into it and whether they're going to mess things up, basically. We saw Black Panther in Civil War, and he was ace. And
he was very cool.
Yeah, it's made me excited for this film. And culturally, it's amazing. Generally, 90% black cast, kind of similar to what The Wire has done. Call back to another podcast we did together.
Go listen to our podcast at The Wire Stripped.
But ultimately, I just want it to be an ace movie, and it's great that this now comes to a stage where this can happen. And Marvel are just brilliant. And I'm looking forward to when they do Captain Marvel, where it's a female-led superhero movie for a start.
Yes, and I've seen the success of Wonder Woman, and also this movie, Black Panther, has been crazy successful so far. I mean, it's Monday when we're recording this. It's had its opening weekend in the US, and it's the 5th highest opening weekend in the US of all time.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest pre-summer.
So it just goes. I think it goes to show more than race and more than feminism, in that people want to see different films made by different people starring different people. It's getting to that stage now where we just make films that are good, and it doesn't really matter who directly they're appealing to. If they're good films, then everyone would want to go and see them. Yeah,
and if it's a good film that isn't a white guy, then it's even more interesting.
Well, yeah, exactly.
White guys have had our time. It's time to step aside, white guys. There's been an interesting sort of cultural response to this in the States. You saw a lot, there was a lot of there was like a campaign to fund for some black communities to go see this movie, for sort of inspirational for kids, which I thought was nice.
I kind of sidestepped the black thing before, but I think as a kid growing up, like in the 80s and stuff like that, for me there was always, there's Bill Cosby, there's like Will Smith. There were people in prominent positions who were like, oh, well, okay, we can be there. That's not a problem. So this being the first time that a majority of black and minority ethnic cast are on big screen.
And director.
We need to talk about Ryan Coogler in a second, because the guy's fucking obviously...
Creed was amazing.
Creed and Fruitvale Station. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't.
But kids need to see that there are opportunities out there for them if they want to do that. And hopefully, Barack Obama maybe should have given them that kind of inspiration. I'm sure they feel they can do more than they thought before, but this should really give those kids a really good kick up the ass and say, yeah, we can be on front of stage and screen if we want to be. And I think that's really inspiring.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I was talking to some of my work colleagues today about it who had seen it.
Yeah.
And one woman who I work with is a black woman. Shout out to Pilar. She said to me, "I was just so happy to be watching a movie with black characters where not a single one was a drug dealer or a slave." Yeah. Which is interesting, and I think that's
I guess
often the cliche.
It's a natural stance. It's like default stance. It can be default stance for a lot of films
in Hollywood, in particular, where they're playing to the masses, and that's what they think. That's, I guess, for decades, that's who they thought their audience were.
Absolutely.
But the fact that this movie has been so successful, and Wonder Woman, for instance, shows, hang on, we can make movies that aren't for
based on
suburban...
straight white men.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look at things like Call Me By Your Name this year and Moonlight last year in terms of homosexual cinema.
Yeah.
These are films that people are loving, and there just needs to be more of these types of films.
And that wouldn't have been made 20 years ago.
No, they couldn't have. Very, very difficult. Although there was that My Beautiful Laundrette with Daniel Day-Lewis and a chap who I can't remember, who was possibly Pakistani or Indian. Should check that. But that was a gay drama based in the UK. And that was really quite groundbreaking at the time.
Daniel Day-Lewis was always ahead of his time.
He is, yeah.
Is there
exactly.
anyone who hasn't played?
He hasn't played Black Panther.
Oh, now you're talking. Oh, we should. Well, I think if people were, if Daniel Day-Lewis had been cast as Black Panther, we would not be. We would be having a very different conversation.
There would be outrage. There would be protests. Even for Daniel Day-Lewis, he's probably the only person that could get away with blackface because he would really lean into it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, we've definitely got off on some weird tangents here, but I'm enjoying it.
But yeah, are you looking forward to watching this?
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, you and me are big Marvel nerds.
Yeah, I can't. Have you seen the trailer for this?
No, I've avoided everything. I did see the very first teasery trailer.
Sure.
Which didn't really. It just had sort of flashy images, and that's kind of enough for me.
I think you're like me, where if you know you're going to see the film, I don't need to see the trailer because it'll just ruin everything. So I've seen maybe a flash here and there. And run, that's fine. Okay.
Oh, that's exciting.
That's good. Yeah.
I don't even know the plot of it.
No,
or anything.
No, I don't. I know Michael B. Jordan's in it, who is
Where's
great.
Wallace at?
Where's Wallace? Where's Wallace, String? So Michael B. Jordan, going back to Ryan Coogler. So he was in Fruitvale Station, directed by Ryan Coogler. It was front and centre in Krieg, directed by Ryan Coogler. So Michael B. Jordan's been brought back in to work with Ryan Coogler. So this is going back to how Marvel are awesome and picking out these directors who have potential. So Fruitvale Station is an independent film, and then he went to do Creed, which is no one expected it to be good, but it was my favourite Rocky film. I think Rocky-based film.
Same, I think. Or I mean, it's probably one of the best ones. I mean, Rocky 4 is my favourite. I just can't get enough.
Ivan Drago.
Yeah. So it's got so many montages.
You need a montage.
We better head in, and we're going to be late
for it.
We'll see you guys on the other side.
Yeah, catch you later.
The world is changing. Soon there will only be the conquered and the conquerors. Step into the spotlight. You are a good man. Step into the spotlight. It's a good heart. And it's hard for a good man to be a king.
All right, we're back. We've just seen Black Panther at the IMAX.
And I have to, full disclosure, I did have a few micro naps, so you may have to fill me in on a few sections. I don't think I missed too much though.
No, just a big 45-minute chunk in the middle.
Oh, damn it.
No, you didn't. You were out for
snoring and managed to out decibel the IMAX here.
I did notice you sort of leaning forward a few times to try and stay awake.
And splashing water on myself.
Well, first of all, for anyone who doesn't know what Black Panther is about, we can give you a very brief synopsis. We won't spoil anything yet. But it's about Black Panther.
Yep.
Yeah.
who we first see in Civil War, as we probably discussed before going into the film.
Yes. Played by Chadwick Boseman. He's the king of a fictional African country called Wakanda.
Wakanda, yeah.
And they are super technologically advanced.
Yeah.
An asteroid hit the country before humans even existed, and this fictional vibranium stuff. It's kind of like unobtainium from Avatar.
So you know where vibranium is what Steve Rogers' shield is made out of.
That's right. Yeah. He his dad died in Civil War. Spoilers for that. Are we allowed to? It's too late.
I think so.
I think the statute of limitations is up on that. He's the king, and blah blah blah. I won't say anymore. Anyway, I thought the film was great. Go see it.
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
And that's been the cinema.
I thought, what did I think? I thought it was great, but I think
What did you think, Kobi?
Sometimes when things are hyped up so much, it just didn't live up to the mega hype, I think.
Yeah, okay.
But I thought it was great, and it's really good. It didn't go into massive world destruction stuff, which a lot of the other superhero films have done, but still was super impressive in everything that it did. And some of the best scenes were when there's two people fighting without any capes, without any special effects, really.
Yeah.
It was just like
Just
raw.
two dudes with their shirts off having
Yeah, exactly.
having a right old tussle.
Man nipples.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the hype, because I think that this movie can end up falling victim to overhyping for some people, and I know I spoke to a couple of people at work today who felt that they thought it was just good, but they thought it was going to be great.
Yeah.
Because the problem, and that's the problem with this Rotten Tomato system, where you've got, it's already on track to be the highest rated superhero movie ever on Rotten Tomatoes. It's at 97% or something. And so then you're like, oh my god, this is only 3% short of being the perfect film. When in fact, because the Rotten Tomatoes scoring system is binary, it's either fresh or it's rotten. And it could mean that just 97% of critics said, hey, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And you know what? But that said, I went in with my expectations sort of
Metered a bit, weren't they?
a little bit metered because of that, maybe. And I had a right blast. I thought this was so great. I just had a grin on my face for loads of this movie.
I think that's the thing as well, because one thing I've become accustomed to with Marvel films is joke after joke after joke. Thor Ragnarok was an out-and-out comedy.
Yeah, a bit too much of a comedy.
I'd agree with you with too much of a comedy. And the other ones have been. I think this was lower on the gags, on the gag front, than the previous ones.
Agreed.
A bit more serious, but there were some characters like T'Challa's sister.
She was outstanding.
She was great. I mean, one thing that's not been talked about much is, okay, there's got black and ethnic minority cast in here, but half the main cast are female, and they kick ass.
So much. Michonne from The Walking Dead, I forget the actress's name, is awesome in this.
Brilliant.
Lupita Nyong'o, so good. And all the action scenes involve like just women kicking ass.
Yes,
a lot of
exactly.
And so much.
So much to be taken away from this. So carrying on from the standard that Wonder Woman set, and just making a kick-ass film. Ignore Justice League, because that took Wonder Woman a few steps back. But
I still haven't seen it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. So there's so many things to take away from this film that I think are super important and really just impressive. And it just shows that you don't have to have a city coming up in the sky and then being obliterated for people to care about or think that this is a really cool film, or superhero films have to be done that way.
Or a big blue light. There's always a big blue light.
Big blue light.
Or an alien invasion. I feel like if in a few months from now, when when Infinity War comes out, I think we might have different feelings to what you're describing. If it's just sometimes when the scale gets too big, you lose any sense of conflict and tension. Whereas this movie sets up the stakes really well, and like you said, they're technically kind of low. It's just it's
so much more personal.
It's very personal. This is very much it's about monarchy and families and royalty with a little bit of James Bond in the middle.
What, going to casino?
There was a whole casino section, which I thought was very James Bond.
Yeah, well, I think the really cool thing about his sister is she's effectively Q.
Yeah, totally.
Super smart, super sassy, and she's on it 100%. So it's probably the biggest takeaway from this film. I don't know the actress much beforehand, apart from I believe she was in an episode of Black Mirror,
which I haven't seen yet.
Yes, so I'm not going to divulge much. I'm sure it's her in the final episode of the latest season of Black Mirror.
I just IMDb'd her. It is on her CV.
Cool.
Black Mirror, and another Black Mirror alum. Daniel Kaluuya, from Get Out, who was great, like kind of a supporting role here, but like a strong one. Like We'll save it for spoilers.
I didn't realise he was in it, actually. There's just so many. The cast is packed. I think one problem I actually had was because when you have a personal film like this, if you're looking at stuff like Ant-Man or the first Iron Man, there's not that many characters. So I found it quite difficult actually to follow what was going on and who was who and who was doing what to who and why they were pissed off about stuff.
Is that because you were asleep for large sections?
Yeah, for large sections. Whereas Ant-Man had like 4 main players. You could understand what their beefs were between each other. But here you've got 10 or so people. And these people, Angela Bassett, Chadwick Boseman,
Forrest Whitaker is in this. I didn't
Daniel
know that.
Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's lots of stuff going on here.
And there's you've different tribes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I will say, to the movie's credit, it introduces you to this whole world, this whole fictional country that's hidden with camouflage. All this stuff. It overloads you with. It has a lot of exposition to deliver, but it never feels
heavy-handed.
Heavy-handed, exactly. And it's very cleverly introduces you to their customs and their rituals, and then you kind of see those things repeated and threaded throughout the movie. So that when it comes to sort of crucial parts in the second and third act, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. It's that ritual. Yeah, I get it. So just good screenwriting, and the action scenes were just, some of them were just amazing. Anyway, I reckon we'll go to spoiler street because I want to.
Let's go to spoiler street.
I said street. We're not just to paint the picture here. We're just walking around
doing laps of the
IMAX. Yeah,
I don't know what is roundabout. IMAX roundabout in Waterloo.
It does fit. It is kind of a roundabout. I mean, it's surrounded by roads with a giant screen in the middle. So we're now on spoilers for Black Panther.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. I thought that car chase immediately after that casino bit
in Korea.
Oh, that's my favourite scene. I was just jaw on the floor.
So what we have here is, it's a classic kind of setup with Q. Imagine a James Bond. James Bond goes to see Q, gets some new gadgets, standard thing, and you know that James Bond is going to play out with them. He's going to play with them later on.
Yeah.
And that's what happens here. He gets a new suit.
Exactly. It's Chekhov's gun. You see,
exactly.
Everything you see is you're going to see later.
Out. Fantastic. Yeah. But because they're so advanced in Wakanda, his sister can play part of the role of the secret agents while she's out there, and she's driving this remote car.
I loved all that stuff.
It's brilliant.
So good.
So well done. And things like, was it Michonne who threw the spear through the car?
Oh my god, that whole thing where she just sort of casually leans out. First of all, great gag when the bad guys are just firing bullets non-stop, and we've seen this in every car chase. Car, it's out the window, and then just cuts to the two of them sitting in this bulletproof car, just looking totally nonchalant. Yeah, great gag.
Checking the fingernails.
So good. And she leans out and just throws this spear, completely flips the thing over.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people riding on cars.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Black Panther on top of the car riding through Korea. It's just such a great sight.
It's badass. And I love his pose.
Yes.
Do you know,
proper cat-like.
The one leg out. I'm doing it here. I know there's a podcast. But try and picture me in the Black Panther pose.
There is, if you go to Picture House Central, there is a full-size mock-up of Black Panther.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there is. I might take
we were going to go to Picture House Central, but it's sold out because this movie's popular.
Exactly. On a Monday night, it's sold out.
What else? Sorry, you go.
So we have...
I'm excited.
I want to say Kilgore, but that's... that's David Tennant's character in Jessica Jones.
Wasn't that also a character from Killer Instinct?
Possibly.
On the N64.
Michael B. Jordan's character.
How good is Michael B. Jordan in this?
It's just amazing. And so we talked about how he is the one person that Ryan Coogler, the writer-director, has worked with. And this guy is just phenomenal. He's great in this film. We go back to first seeing him in The Wire, where he's this really skinny kid.
If you like The Wire, we have a podcast on The Wire. It's called The Wire Stripped.
Just to put it in there again.
I'm very subtle with my segues, as you know.
But this guy is fucking massive and ripped, and he has got an agenda, which is kind of fair in a way.
Well, it's an interesting... it's a different point of view, isn't it?
Absolutely.
He's not your run-in-the-mill take over the world villain. He's representing the the people who've been subjugated all these years. It's very interesting with the the context of Africa and its place in history, and he sees that as an injustice.
He sees it as an injustice that Wakanda could have helped out a lot of suffering people, and he's like pissed. That's his main.
And he's kind of right.
Yeah.
In a way,
if there is one nation that could help everyone out, maybe America, listen up, that could help everyone out, then why don't you do that? And that's his whole point. Is like help people out.
And there is a lot of not so subtle nods to American politics.
No.
I would say, particularly at the very end when T'Challa's at the UN and he says, we need to build bridges, and I'm a sucker for all that stuff. I love idealism. Did you? I read in that scene apparently there's a Welsh flag.
Oh right, did you see it, or you?
I was looking out for it because I'd read this. There's a Welsh flag in the United Nations, which means that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Wales has succeeded.
Wales is its own country
from the UK, which is
good luck to you, Wales.
Which is ironic because I think they were they were very pro Brexit in the referendum, weren't they?
I can't remember actually. I don't know why I said yes so vehemently.
You were sure of it.
So the fight scenes and the action scenes were well placed. They weren't protracted. They didn't seem overwrought.
Nope.
They didn't get bored at any point in any of them.
And at the end was amazing. The one in the plains with the fucking rhinoceroses, armored rhinoceri. Just so cool. And just the Daniel Kaluuya, charging against his love
played by Michonne
in a rhinoceros. It's it sounds ridiculous, but it was great. I loved all the stuff with the different tribes. I loved the fifth tribe who went to the mountains,
and they came and joined. They were kind of banished. They banished themselves to the mountains, but joined in when they were needed to.
Yeah, they're the equivalent of the army that arrives at the last minute, the Return of the King, sort of ghost army.
To come and help everything out.
Yeah. Like you just knew, oh no, we're not going to help. All right, see you in the third act when you're needed most.
That was the Chekhov's gun thing, like you say. You knew, because in the exposition at the start they disappear off. You say there's five tribes. One of them goes into the mountains. You knew you were going to see them again because that's how these things work. And they were good guys, effectively. They just wanted to keep themselves to themselves, and when they needed them. When they needed them. Yeah, when they needed them, they came out and said, yeah, we're going to help you out. And they did so magnificently.
I loved when they first appeared in the challenge.
Yeah.
That was great. And that's what I mean, what's what I said earlier about they set that up so that, when it happens again later, we're like, oh shit, we get it. We know the stakes.
We know what's going to happen, yeah.
And we also know that he's going to lose because it kind of seemed a bit obvious. I mean, the structure of the movie is kind of a little maybe by the numbers. It's nothing we haven't seen before.
There's still lack of jeopardy because we knew he wasn't dead. Yeah, exactly.
So
you don't, unless you see a body.
Yeah.
Unless you see a dead body, he's not dead.
Because nobody dies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Except, apparently, Andy Serkis. But even he's probably not dead.
We don't know.
Just invent some back-to-life potion in the next one.
Well, they could just send him to Wakanda because that can cure a load of ailments, it seems. So overall, I thought it was a really good film. Maybe just lower your expectations a bit and just enjoy it. In the same way, I didn't go with high expectations of Ant-Man and came out and really enjoyed it. So I think that's the kind of angle to go in.
The hype is maybe
taking the edge off,
which is a shame.
Yes.
Because I think this is just a really solid, fun movie. It's fun, and even though you mentioned the jokes, I think they weren't as strong as or as frequent as in other movies, but they felt like the gag rate was good.
Yeah.
And it felt like, unlike Thor Ragnarok, there was jeopardy here. I was kind of the battles for the throne, even though you know how it's going to end. It's I was it's like.
Yeah, you were wincing and like.
It was pretty. I thought it was pretty brutal. It was quite violent.
What was the warning? What was the British film? What was the warning they said at the start of the film on the certificate?
Oh, it was 12A, and it said
mild gesture. Or something
There was an offensive gesture, which we love looking for. What the BBFC are gonna?
That's it, BBFC. I
Yeah.
remember.
We had great fun actually in 50 Shades Freed, actually looking for all the what the BBFC had warned us about. But yeah, there was a flipping the bird moment. Watch out if you're sensitive. So yeah, I know anything else.
No, definitely go and watch it, guys. Okay, I should say I don't want a full ranking, but where does it sit in the top, middle, or bottom of the cinematic universe as it stands for you?
I should have seen this question coming. I haven't thought about this. I mean, there's so many of them now. It's hard to.
Yeah,
hard to even.
That's why I'm not trying to say like number position, but where is it in the top third, middle third, or like bottom third?
Yeah, it's up top third for me, I think.
Cool.
I just thought it was like, you said it before we went in. This is something we haven't seen before.
No.
And
it totally isn't.
I thought the movie was filled with stuff like that. When we first see Wakanda and it filled the IMAX screen, I was just like,
boom,
look darting all over, like, oh, look at that, look at that.
It looks fantastic. Absolutely, it looks amazing.
And it looked so good. And the costume designs were classed, and they were like clearly rooted in like African, in loads of different African influences.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just fun. It was just like classic Shakespearean royal sort of brothers and sisters and cousins, and like it's just great fun.
I think it would be top third for me. Maybe not the top of the top.
What's top of the top for you?
I think. Oh, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I'd have to think.
I'm a Guardians of the Galaxy guy.
You're probably right. I think from the first frame of Guardians, when he kicks that swamp rat thing and starts singing into it like a microphone, I was like completely sold into it.
I mean, the soundtrack does a lot of the work in that movie. But
we should say about the soundtrack here, which is brilliant.
Yes, so good.
I don't know much about Kendrick Lamar. I'm too old for his hip hop. I'm a hip hop and indie kid, but Kendrick Lamar and Drake, I don't know anything about. But just it was a mix of lots of traditional African beats and rhythms and drumming with hip hop beats and stuff like that, and it just worked seamlessly with the old style, traditional like garments and drums and stuff like that, with the ultra high tech technology.
Yeah, there was a which is perfectly represents the movie's theme.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was just pumping, like it was. It was really great.
Kept everything going, like boom, boom.
And there were some lovely little orchestral moments in the when he visits the spiritual world.
Yes.
And he talks to his dad. There were some lovely little themes in there.
I'm sure this will be on Spotify. I'll probably check it out tomorrow and absorb it a bit more.
It's definitely one of the stronger soundtracks.
Marvel, it's not really known for that. Apart from when they do the Needle Drop soundtrack with Iron Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, the score tends to kind of play second fiddle.
It's a bit generic, isn't it? Often. Quickly back to Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
Because the Marvel movies kind of have a bit of a bad track record for villains.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, they tend to be mostly forgettable or one note, or just like Thanos, just like
he's not there yet.
Bad,
so yeah.
Or it's just like he's just evil. That's it.
So apart from Loki, it's most people's favourite villain.
Well, Loki is probably the best villain, but he's kind of on the comedic side. He's enjoyable. Like it's all about Tom Hiddleston's performance. But Michael B. Jordan brought a real humanity to it.
Absolutely, yeah.
And a tragedy. And the last scene where he gets the sunset, like, was just
as promised by his dad.
Oh, that got me.
It reminded me a bit of The Lion King in ways, because the scenery is so. And I was thinking actually, this is how the real quote unquote photorealistic Lion King will look when it comes out.
Yeah, good point.
But that kind of sunset when Simba and his dad are looking out into the vista. It reminded me of that kind of scene where there's a connection, but you knew there's going to be a separation, and it was great.
Yeah, and the Lion King has a lot of the similar themes as well. It's all about like royalty and monarchy and looking after the people and all that. Anyway, I know if Kathy were here, she would be telling me to shut up by now. So I tend to ramp in.
So how can we find you on Twitter, Dave?
Oh, thanks, Kobi. Hey, we should host a podcast together.
We should do.
I'm on. I'm not me. I'm the cinema. We're on the Cinemile.
Yeah.
At the Cinemile on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Head there and ask Kathy what she thought of the movie. I think she's going to like it.
Yeah, I think. Well, yes, and I think people will like this more than other Marvel films. Even though I'm not as high up in it as I thought I would be, I think there'll be very few people that are upset about this film. Not upset.
It's very self-contained,
yes,
isn't it?
it
You
is,
could
yeah.
just go in there without knowing any of it.
You know, that's it. Although one thing that annoyed me was a couple behind who seemed to have a full-on conversation.
But you called them out on it.
I did.
Which
I was
I
like,
enjoyed.
fuck's sake, shut up. Because I don't mind the odd, like, who's that kind of thing, but they just seem to be like, oh, so what should we have for dinner tonight?
Is that what they were saying?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter what they were saying. They were talking fairly loudly throughout, so you were right to call them on it. And I was just the kind of wimpy coward who was just, I kind of just nodded, yeah.
Uh-huh.
You better believe. So yeah, and if you wouldn't mind heading to our iTunes page, or you can find us on Acast or wherever you listen to your podcast, and hitting us a quick subscribe. And Kobi, where can people find more of your work?
Got another podcast, would you believe? You can't just have one podcast, it seems. So Flixwatcher, I spelled it in Netflix. Just type in Flixwatcher into Google, you'll find us. Go to iTunes, enjoy, and listen out for Dave and Kathy. They came on to an early episode.
Yeah, we've been on twice.
Yeah, absolutely. So
we did Woody Allen, and we did a terrible sci-fi Netflix thing called Arc.
Called Arc with a Q. So yeah, join us there, guys, and we hope to hear from you soon.
And we're at the Wire Stripped. We'll do one last plug.
The Wire Stripped.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Kobi, thanks for coming out.
No worries, as always.
See you soon, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
I waited my entire life for this. The world's gonna start over. I'ma burn it all. What happens now determines what happens to the rest of the world.